Welcome to Ecstatic Yoga. Welcome to Ecstatic Yoga. I am Grace. We will be practicing Surya Namaskara Sun Salutation again today with modifications, variations, and we're going to be going over some benefits and contraindications for each pose in the Sun Salutation. This is important, so as we move through, we'll be doing a lot of Surya Namaskara and a lot of Sun Salutations throughout the practices and the teacher trainings, and to know some variations and some ways to modify the pose is important to know right off the bat so you can use them, and we won't have to go through it in detail again during the course. So welcome. Let's begin with the centering. I'm going to sit on my little yoga cushion. So sitting in a nice comfortable position. You're on your yoga mat or directly on the earth. Feeling those sits bones, bony parts of your buttocks just resting into the earth. And beginning to breathe into this lower belly. We're going to be just going into a little bit of breath awareness, mindful breathing, abdominal breathing. Just a few breaths to trigger that relaxation response, that parasympathetic nervous system, quieting the mind, all the awareness on the breath. And taking this moment to just simply check in with yourself. Dive your awareness inward. We're going to remove our attention from the external and bring all the attention inward. Closing your eyes and just checking in with yourself. The inner energies, inner aliveness. You may feel the heart beating. Pulsation inside your being. Any vibrations, trembling, cool, warmth, moving of energy. Feel that inner presence, that inner aliveness. Noticing the emotional landscape within you without any judgment, without labeling or describing, basking in that felt sense. And taking this moment to set an intention for yourself. Taking this opportunity, set an intention for something you like to create or manifest in your life. Always stating it in the positive and present, as if it is already here now. Releasing that intention with a this or better, this or better, this or better. Opening up the eyes, coming back to the room. Welcome. Move my massage cushion. I'll just do a couple warm-ups on the mat, and then we'll stand up and move into our Surya Namaskar. So let's just moving back and forth. Shoulders into it. Just feeling the body, making some circles around pelvis, the whole torso. And anytime you might feel some beautiful sensation, you can massage that. Going slow enough so that you can really feel the sensations in your body. This is what helps create the embodiment. Being aware of the sensations, bringing your attention into these bodily sensations, recognizing that this body is a body temple, a temple of the soul, a living temple. No temple on earth that is brick and mortar can even remotely compare, regardless of how big and tall, skyscrapers, no matter what it might be. Nothing can compare to this living, breathing temple. You are a temple, your body, housing the infinite soul presence that you are. Coming back to center, let's do just a gentle twist to each side. Let's bring the arms up overhead, clasping the arms. You can bring them upside down. You can just leave them and do a little side to side stretching. Coming back to center, maybe doing a little bit of a back bend. And then releasing the hands, and let's go into a little bit of a forward fold. Coming up. Let's come up to a standing position. I have some blocks here because we'll be showing a few ways we can modify with blocks. So coming up to a standing position. Just back a little bit. I'm going to start with our mountain pose. So actually, I think what I'm going to do, this is so we're going to come up to the front of the mat. So mountain pose. We'll go into some of the benefits while we're here. It improves your posture, especially as we move into those loops and spirals. It strengthens the whole body. Spinal alignment, and this can actually help with some sciatic relief. And contraindications, there are none for the mountain. It looks like we're just standing here, relaxing, but once we really get into this mountain pose, it actually is a very engaged posture that we'll be working on. So some modifications will go right off the bat. We can widen the stance. So you can, some people like the feet touching. Best way is to get it about hip width apart, and you can check with your two fists. It's a little wide. And if this isn't stable for you, if you feel a little off balance, you can actually widen your stance so you feel a little more stable. That's one variation, modification for that. And the other is to, you want to have the knees soft, but micro bend the knees. A little micro bend in those knees. You also can be against a wall on a mountain. So you can go right here. I'll go right here. So you can stand against a wall. And that adds some stability to your mountain. So those are some modifications. A variation with our mountain is our half moon. So we can go side to side. Nice variation to add into your mountain pose. So let's move into our mountain. So the feet are going to be hip width apart, or you can add any of those modifications or variations. And we're going to add the loops and spirals, those on the side loops and spirals. So that ankle loop, feeling a lift of the arches. And I like to lift the toes. That somehow seems to lift my arches and then rest those toes back down. Shin loop, you're going to engage the calves. Thigh loop begins below the knees. So you're going to feel a lift of the knees and you're going to feel the quadriceps, your thighs engage. Pelvic loop, bringing that pelvis into neutral. Might want to tuck the tailbone under a little, bring the belly in and up. Kidney loop, you're going to feel a lift of the ribs. Shoulder loop, energy comes all the way up to the chin. Chin is going to be parallel to the floor. The energy goes back, so you're going to feel those shoulders move back and then down the back. So feel the shoulders drop away from the ears. And then our skull loop, right the center of our head. Feeling like there's a string just pulling us up and lengthening. There's the under our ecstatic yoga cat. So the whole spine and body is lengthening. And feel a nice little inward spiral in the thighs. And as the hands are resting down, you can feel a gently inward spiral with the arms. Beautiful. And inhale the arms up. And going into a nice little back bend. And now we're going to move into our forward fold. So before we move into forward fold, and bring your hands to your heart, keeping that alignment if you can while I go over benefits and contraindications. So we're keeping those loops and spirals in the body. Forward fold has a lot of great benefits. It stretches and lengthens the hamstrings, can relieve low back pain. Also massages the internal organs as we fold forward. Because we're folding forward, we're going inward. It calms the nervous system. It can also relieve abdominal cramps, stimulates the digestive system, the nervous system, and the endocrine system. And contraindications can be recent or chronic injury to the legs, hips, back, or shoulder. So we're going to move into the forward fold, and I will bring you into some of the variations. So let's inhale those arms back up. And now as we go down, we're moving into some variations. So one of the variations is you fold forward. And before we fold forward, I want you to stick that tailbone out just a little bit to protect the lower back. And remember, we're going to be hinging at the hips. So there's a few ways to come down. You can come down with the hands directly at the center of the body. We can use the giant angel wings, which I usually use. Or we can have the hands at the hips. The one thing you don't ever want to do is have your hands out. As you can see, if I'm hinging forward, my hands are out. I'm putting a lot of pressure on the low back, and that's not going to be helpful for the back. It'll cause injury. So we're going to bring those hands up. Use whatever variation you want as you hinge down into your forward fold. You're coming all the way down. Now, one of the variations is you can come down to a block, raising that floor up. Come to the block. Now, you can always bend your knees as much as you need. If you need to come down to the floor, that works too. But if you want to have just a micro bend on those knees, you can use these blocks. 2 blocks on either side of the foot and just coming down to the blocks. It's a really great modification. You want to relax the head. It's always nice to shake it out a little bit. Yes, no. And a couple variations once you're here. You can bring your hands to your elbows. And that just deepens the forward fold. You can also bring your hands to the back. And if you can clasp onto those forearms, even the elbows, in your forward fold. I'm going to move these out for a little bit. And we're going to come into half forward fold, taking a nice deep breath here. And then back down to forward fold, relaxing the head. And we're going to move into our lunge. So the first thing we want to do with our lunge is to lift the head first, the head and the heart. And then take that right leg back behind you. The feet are parallel like railroad tracks. And then you can come up to the knee and you can come all the way up in a nice high lunge. So the lunge pose, Anjane Asana, benefits is it strengthens and stretches the groin, the quadriceps, iliopsoas, the hamstrings, and the calves. Contraindications is injury or chronic problems to the knees, shoulders, or the neck. And some modifications for this pose is to stay in your hands down here. You're in a lunge, but you're not bringing the arms all the way up. The other one is simply to drop that knee down to the earth. So you're in a low lunge, and then you can bring those arms up and you're in a lunge. Still square the hips, line the knee over the ankle, and this is a perfect way you can modify your lunge if you need to. There's a little bit of arm variations. I also want to show you a variation while I'm here. One variation that people can use is actually to put their foot on a block. And the other is, here's my blanket right here. If you do have your knee dropped, and anytime you have your knee down on the earth, is you can always put your knee on a blanket. So these are just a few different modifications for the pose. You can be like this. Anytime the knee is down on the earth, you can offer a blanket to your students or offer that to yourself. All right, so some hand variations. I'll just do them here while we're in low lunge. So first arm variation is, of course, the arms up above the head. The next one is we can start to arch back. We can bring the hands together and arch back. We can bring them apart, we can clasp them, just bringing a little back bend into the pose. The next is to take the hands and clasp them behind you. Just clasp the hands behind you. And you can open up the heart as you bring the shoulder blades together if you'd like. And of course, as we mentioned, you can bring the hands to the floor. And I have my little dumbbells, but I didn't bring them. They're in my room waiting to come here. The next one is, it's another variation. and this would probably be if you're in high or low lunge, it doesn't matter, is you can actually hold a couple dumbbells on your arms, your hands, if you wanted to add a little bit more to the pose. So you can have two little dumbbells in your hands and hold them with weights. So let's go into the pose for a few breaths. Engaging the bandhas, and let's bring in some prana, feeling that back thigh engaged, squaring those hips, knees right over the ankle, and breathe. Inhaling up. And our next pose is going to be our downward facing dog. So we're going to open up the hands, bringing them down to our blocks or the mat. So one of the modifications for downward facing dog is using these blocks. So you can have them all ready for you, and you can have them flat down. You can have them up like this, whatever works best. And while we're here, let's go over benefits of downward facing dog. Calms the nervous system, hamstring and shoulder mobility, shoulder strength, and stretches your calves. Contraindications for this pose is recent or chronic injury to the back, hips, arms, shoulders, and high blood pressure and glucomia. So we're going to bring that front leg back into our downward facing dog. So here we are using the blocks. I'm going to move the blocks a little closer and feeling that beautiful downward dog. I'm going to remove the blocks. I personally prefer not to use props as much as possible because I'm usually doing my yoga on the beach or out in nature, and I don't usually bring up a prop. But they can be very valuable in a yoga setting, especially for people that are new or beginners. And so let's go over a couple variations in your downward facing dog and modifications. So we went to, here we are, is you can bend those knees a little bit. You can use a wall or a chair for stability. So I can move back and use that wall. And some variations would be a three-legged dog. So I can bring one foot up behind me into a three-legged dog. It's a little balance pose. Let's bring that right leg up. Engage the bandhas and breathe. One more breath. And bringing it down. And let's bring that left leg up to three-legged dog. One more breath. And then another modification is we're going to bring that right leg back up, is to bend that right knee and open up. It's a little hip opener to add in your three-legged dog. Taking a deep breath here, feeling that hip opening, coming back to neutral, and we're going to move to the other side for this little hip opener. Inhaling the left leg up, bending the left knee, opening up the left hip. Now, both hands are firmly planted on the earth, so you got two hands and 1 foot as a foundation. Taking a deep breath here and releasing. And let's see, move some of this stuff. Our last variation is going to be wild thing. So here we are in our downward facing dog, and we can move that right leg up, bend that knee, open up the hips, and if you'd like to, we can move all the way into a wild thing. So we're going to bend that knee, Bring the right foot down and open up with the right arm into Wild Thing. One breath here. And coming back. And bringing the foot back down. And we'll go into Wild Thing on the other side. So we're going to kick the left leg out. Bend that knee like we did. Bring you all the weight into the right hand as we bring the left foot down behind us and the left arm up into our Wild Thing. Deep breath here. And coming back into our downward facing dog. And now we're going to move into our plank or our push-up position. And we're going to come slowly down in chaturanga. And let's drop the knees. Let's drop the knees. And so we're in plank. Let's come back into a seated position for a minute while we talk about plank for a little. So in plank position, a couple benefits is it's a beautiful strengthener of the arms. And as we move, and any contraindication would be any shoulder injuries. As we move into our plank, there's a few modification variations we can use too. So most common and obvious is just dropping these knees. So now we're in, I'll go to the side in, nice. Here's a full high plank pose, and I can drop the knees, and now I'm in a low plank. And this is a very common one. And remembering we can offer a blanket under the knees whenever we're on the knees. And then the second is a variation, and that is push-ups. So let's do a few push-ups together. If you're not into push-ups, you can come and just rest into child's pose or rest down onto the earth. Or you can try one or two. So coming into the plank and doing a few push-ups. This is a nice variation to add whenever you're in plank, especially if you're going through some Surya Namaskar with variations. And it tones the arms, strengthens even the wrists. And if you bring your awareness to the arms, it's going to bring even more benefit. And then coming down, chaturanga, nice and slow, all the way to the earth. So some benefits of chaturanga is it builds core stability, just like this is chaturanga in our plank. Strengthens the arms, the wrists, and tones the abdomen. And contraindications for plank in chaturanga are wrist or shoulder injury and very, very high or very, very low blood pressure. And of course, modifications for chaturanga and plank is to drop those knees for a low plank or low chaturanga. And we're going to move now into up dog, and then we'll go into baby cobra. And then we'll go back all the same. So the fun thing about Surya Namaskar is it starts off mountain, forward fold, lunge, down dog. Then we have our chaturanga and our plank, up dog, or baby cobra. And then we're going to move right back in the same order. Down dog, lunge, forward fold, mountain tadasana. So with our up dog, Urdhva Mukha Savasana, the benefits is it strengthens the back and spinal muscles, improves posture, opens the heart, and it strengthens your core. Contraindications is back or spinal injuries. So modifications with our up dog. Now up dog can be done when we're in our up dog. If we swoop up, the thighs are above the earth. And one of the modifications is just dropping those thighs to rest down on the earth. So let me show you that on the side. If we're swooped up, So you have an option of having the thighs high up above, or you can just relax them down on to the earth. So if we're here on our up dog, we can also use blocks. Rest your arms on blocks, which could also bring a little bit of low back relief if that's an issue for you. And of course, blanket under the thighs can help too. So if you have your blocks, especially if you have some low back sensations, you can take a blanket and you can put that underneath the thighs, lifts the thighs up a little, and with the blocks, that can bring some relief back a bit to your low back. Right here with the blanket and the blocks. That's another variation. And then the other variation is cobra. Baby cobra is the one that we use in our sunset Surya Namaskar sun salutation. So let's go through the baby cobra pose. So this, when you're in your Surya Namaskar, your sun salutation, after your plank and chaturanga, moving into up dog or baby cobra. Up dog is going to strengthen the arms more. Baby cobra is going to strengthen your back because you're going to be using the back muscles rather than the arm to lift the head and raise the chest. Benefits of the baby cobra is it opens your heart and chest, strengthens the back, the arms, the shoulders, and your abs, relieves back pain, and also strengthens the back, of course, stimulates glands, and improves flexibility. Contraindications are back injuries or very late pregnancy. Modifications is to, here we are. So let's bring ourselves into our baby cobra. So the modification is to rise up only very slowly up off the floor. And we're going to place the forearms in the floor. We're going to come down. Let's just come down to a nice position, resting the head to either side for a moment, feeling the earth and the connection to the earth. And then let's bring these hands, both forearms, to the earth. Right here. And we're going to lift up using the back muscles, coming up as far as we can, but we're using the back arm, not the arms, not the arm strength, but the back muscles. So let's go down again and raising up. And as you raise up, feeling that the strength of what's raising you up is your back. Nice and slow. The arms are just for stability, but feeling that back raising you up. And so a nice modification variation is just coming up just ever so slightly, finding where your back strength is, and maybe it's just a little bit. And you can clasp the hands in front of you. And let's breathe a few breaths in this beautiful baby cobra. I like to have the hands and the palms down on the earth, using the back muscles, no arm strength. Beautiful. And let's push ourselves back into child's pose. Nice relaxation pose before we move back. And taking a few breaths in your child's pose and bringing that energy inward and bringing that love into yourself and into your own heart, that love and appreciation and acknowledgement of the self. Then coming back to a table, I'm going to show you some variations throughout the sun salutation. Move this back this way so you can see me a little bit better. So here we are. After your down dog, a variation is just to bring yourself into table. And in table pose, there's so many variations. And the first thing is the cat and cow. So in cow, we're going to stick the tailbone out, arch the back, lift the head and the heart as we inhale. And then cow, tucking the tailbone under, rounding the back, bringing the head to look in with the thighs and belly as we flex that spine. And moving back and forth into flexion and extension. Cat, cow. Keeping the breath flowing. We did some modifications yesterday. We're going to go through them again today. This is modifications for Siri Namaskara. And then, of course, when you're in your cat-cow, you can invite your students to do some of their own styling and their own flow. When they're in their cat, they might bring the hips back or make some circles. Just allowing them to find their own pace and make some spontaneous movements that feel good for their body as they move back and forth in their cat-cow. And creating it as a nice flow, bringing all the attention inward, being with yourself in this flow, not distracted by anything external, never worrying about what anyone else is doing, but just being in your own flow, feeling the sensations in your body. I can feel some sensations in my lower back. It feels so good. It's a nice stretch. Bringing your awareness to that. And then there's lots of variations once we're in our table, but we might go through that in another pose. You can actually open up. You can move into the threading the needle. Bring that shoulder down. You can move into balancing table. You can work on balance. And a few other things, but we won't be going into that today. I just want you to know that there'll be a lot of variations in table. We're going to move into down dog. So we're going to curl those toes under, pushing into the hands and feet and straightening the knees right into the down dog. And we're going to go into some variations with this. And of course, the most obvious is walking the dog. So let's feel a nice stretch on each calf, one at a time, bringing one heel down to the earth as you bend the opposite knee in. And finding your pace and taking your time. I don't think we mentioned this when we went into down dog. Always walking the dog is a variation. And then coming back to center. And then we're going to move into our lunge. So we're going to lift the head and the heart first, always. Then we're going to take that right hand between, that right foot between the hands and drop that back knee. So another variation with your low lunge is lunge rocks. So you can lunge forward, feeling a nice hip opener. And you can lunge back as you straighten that front leg. And you can flex and extend that front foot for even more wonderful sensations to be felt. Extra stretching of little micro muscles. And finding your own rhythm here and going into your own beautiful, spontaneous flow. Enjoying the sensations. Remember, you can always put a blanket under your knee. The knee is down. Keeping that breath flowing. Always move into Ujjayi breath. Engage those bandhas. And enjoy the beautiful sensations. And then coming back to center. I'm going to take this right leg back and move back into table. And we're going to bring this left leg forward. And we're going to move into some lunge rocks on this side. So lunging forward, feeling that nice hip opener. And moving the hip a little bit. Just for sensation, noticing the sensations. Moving in ways that feel good. Moving into that flow as you straighten the leg and lunge back. And that stretch on the lower back. Flexing and extending that foot if you like. Different variations. To move into. Keeping the breath flowing, engage the bandhas. Bring all the awareness into the body. Your body sensations. And coming back to neutral. And we're going to curl these back toes under. We're going to move into our Uttanasana, our forward fold. Straightening that back leg. Taking some steps or one giant step. So both feet are hip width apart, together, and back into your forward fold. Remembering we have some variations. We bring our arms to the elbows to deepen that stretch in our forward fold. Of course, we can use those blocks if you need. If you wanted to bring the hands behind the back in your forward fold, you can do that. And we can even go into our standing yoga mudra. Clasping the hands, opening up those shoulders even more. And releasing the hands, and let's come into our half forward fold. Table, some people call it, and feeling that heads reaching out away from the body so you can stretch that spinal column a little bit. And exhaling back into our forward fold. Nice soft knees. On the next inhale, we're going to come back into our mountain. So lifting the head, lifting the heart, move all the way back into our mountain pose. And we're going to move through the Surya Namaskar C in a nice flow. And then we're going to move down and do a little on the floor and move into Savasana. So let's inhale into our mountain. Let's add a nice little back bend to that. Exhaling down into forward fold. Inhaling up into half forward fold. Exhaling back into forward fold. Inhaling into lunge, high or low lunge. Exhaling into downward facing dog. Inhaling into up dog. And exhaling into down dog. Beautiful job. Inhaling, bringing that right leg up into a lunge, high or low, engaging the bondos. Exhaling into forward fold, bring that back leg up to the front. Inhaling, half forward fold. Exhaling, forward fold. Inhaling, lifting the head, the heart, all the way up into your beautiful mountain. And let's face forward. Let's do a little more side to side, half moon, opening up that side body. Remembering as you go side to side, you don't want to collapse. You want to lengthen and move laterally. Going back and forth to either side a few times as we open up that side body and move that spine. Really important to move the spine. Keep the spine healthy. Keep those nadi system, energy system healthy. Coming back to center. And let's clasp the hands behind our back. We're going to move into standing yoga mudra. And then we're going to go down to the floor and do a little bit of floor and complete the practice. So extending those arms as you hinge forward. Arms are up, head comes down. And breathe. And taking this moment to honor the heart. The heart is the highest organ now in the body. The head is lower than the heart. It's a pose of honoring the heart. And releasing the hands. And we're going to come down onto our buttocks. And let's move into a single leg forward fold. So the right leg is out. Left sole of the left foot is resting on the inner thigh of my right leg. First thing we want to do is lengthen the spine. And then you can have the hands down on the mat for stability and begin to hinge forward. I'm hinging at the hip. My spine isn't moving yet. And I always like to, in my forward fold, is really take my time, protect the lower back, protect the body. And once you find this edge, where the back leg muscles say, that's about enough. We never want to force. We always want to be around a 7. Remember playing that edge with the rubber band. We don't want to stretch it out and snap it, and we don't want it to be loosey-goosey. We want to feel that nice medium tension, playing the edge. And so here we are, and we're just going to rest on that edge. We're feeling the sensation in the hamstrings and calves a little bit, taking a nice deep breath here. And on the exhale, see if you can hinge at the hips, just a little micro movement deeper. And then round that spine. Drawing the attention inward. You can flex and extend that foot. Breathing. Enjoying the sensations in your own body. Keeping the breath flowing, bandhas engaged. One more breath here. And bringing the hands to the earth as you gently rise back up. And we'll go to the other side. So I'm going to take the left leg out, bend that right foot, and rest the sole of the right foot on the inner thigh of the sole of the right foot on the inner thigh of the left foot. Lengthening the spine. Bring the hands down to the mat for stability and beginning to hinge forward in the hip. Finding that gentle edge. And let's take a nice deep breath here as we rest on the edge. And on the exhale, seeing if you can hinge a little bit deeper. And then allow that spine to round. You can bring your forearms down. Wherever you are in your forward fold, you're bringing the energy towards the leg. Don't worry, wherever you are, every body is made a little bit different. People who have real muscular frames can't get down as low. So just honoring your body wherever you are at. And then you can flex and extend that front foot. Noticing the sensations in your body. This is how we become more and more embodied, more empowered in our body. If our soul power and our attention are all scattered, we're not as powerful. If we're here present, our consciousness, our attention in the body, in this body temple, we're home inside the temple, we're more empowered in our vortex. That's why ecstatic yoga is sacred embodiment. Keeping the breath flowing. And then on your next inhale, coming up. Beautiful. Let's bring the feet together. It's going to be the natural flow to move right into Baddha Konasana. We can also do a forward fold here. Feet are together. You can bring those heels in towards the groin, as much as works for you. And then let's take those knees and just bring them down towards the earth. They may not get on the earth, but the line of energy is bringing them towards the earth. Lengthening the spine. And let's move into a little forward fold here. Hinging at the hips. A lot of hip opening in yoga. Engaging those bandhas and breathe. One more breath. On your next inhale, coming up. And then let's just flap those butterfly wings. Let those knees and legs just flap up and down a little bit. Feels really good. Opens up the hips a little. You can pretend you're a butterfly. Beautiful job. Let's bring those knees up in front of us. And we're going to move into a few little variations here as we sit forward. And first variation is a balancing bear. I love this pose. And it's a fun one. So we can bring those sits bones, rest up back into more of the sacrum. We're going to be leaning back more into our sacrum. And then we're going to rest into the sacrum and we're going to bring those legs up like that. And you can keep your hands down. I'm moving into boat. I'm sorry. Let's go into half boat. Here we are with our half boat. And I like to always move into half boat because if we're, we can just stay in this pose as a modification and not go into the full pose. And we can just fold our legs and this is a nice modification for both. So I like to move into it first, and even as we come back. And then we can bring the legs out, arms to the side, and we're moving into our boat. This is a nice strengthening exercise. Engage the bandhas and breathe. Find a drishti, something to gaze at. It's not moving. Help your balance. One more breath. And coming back, moving into that half boat again as you lift that back and then coming back. Now we're going to move into our balancing bear. So what I like to do with balancing bear is start with just kind of a half balancing bear. Wrap the hands around the outer edges of the feet. Bring those heels in towards the body, balancing on those sits bones and that sacrum. And so the first thing I like to do is just one leg at a time. So root your left heel into the earth, the mat, and open up that right leg. And you can move it a little bit to feel some different stretches, some different sensations in this leg. Keeping that breath flowing. And then switch legs. The right heel is on the earth as you lift that left leg up, strengthening, lengthening it and stretching it and moving it in some different positions. Enjoying those sensations. And then coming back to center, we go into our full balancing bear. We're going to lift the heels up off the earth. The balance. And then we're going to open up both legs at the same time. This is a little too much for you. You can just continue to do one leg at a time. And as you get into your full extended balanced bear, find that drishti, that point in front of you you can gaze at. Engage those bandhas and breathe. And on your next exhale, coming down. Beautiful, beautiful job. We're going to scoot up to the front of the mat. I'm going to move into some spinal rocks, and I always recommend that you have enough cushion. If you're on a hard floor, you probably want to just gently come down onto your back. But if you have some cushion, and I have carpet and a nice thick mat, you can bring these hands behind the knees, and you can rock back. And beautiful spinal rocks, they massage the kidneys, the rector spinae muscles along your back, your whole spinal column. It's a really beautiful, beneficial pose. And then coming down onto your back. And we're going to move into a nice hip opener. And it's a supine pigeon. Some people call it the square four. We're going to have the left knee up. Left knee is up. And we're going to take the right ankle and rest it on just above that right knee. And then we're going to take the hand, we're going to lift that left foot up, clasp those hands behind the left hamstring, the left thigh, and gently pulling that left leg in towards the body. You're going to feel a nice hip opening on the right hip. And find your gentle edge. Remember, we never force. We never move into pain. Always back off in pain. And at any time during the practice, you can always take a break. Just move in Savasana, child's pose. Breathing, engaging the bandhas, noticing sensation. and releasing down. And let's move to the other side. Right knee is up. We're going to take the left ankle and rest it just above that right knee. Lifting the right foot, bringing the right leg in towards the body, clasping the hands behind the right hamstring and gently pulling that right leg into the body, feeling that hip opener on the left side. Engaging those bandhas and breathe. One more nice deep breath as you pull that right leg in towards the body. And on the exhale, releasing. Beautiful job. Let's bring those knees into the chest, wrap the hands around the legs, and just rock back and forth. Knees into the chest when you're on the floor is a really great release and relaxation for the low back. So we do it a lot. So let's bring the feet back onto the earth and the knees are up. And we're going to move into a half bridge, a two-legged table, and then into a full bridge. Nice little back bend. Pressing into the feet, we're going to lift those hips just halfway. And notice those sensations. Feel your body. The shoulder blades are our foundation, shoulders, and the feet. The forearms, palms of the hand are all where our body is connected to the earth. So feeling that connection and then feeling the sensation in this core of the body. It's not usually in this position very often during a normal day. So it's a really beautiful way to honor your body by putting it in some different poses, feeling different sensations. And let's come down. As we come down, we're going to move one vertebrae at a time, these upper thoracic vertebrae, all the way down to the lower thoracic, the lumbar, and even feel that sacrum and that tailbone release. And let's move into this two-legged table one more time, pressing into the feet, lifting those hips, feeling the foundation, shoulder blades, the arms and hands and those feet, and then noticing the sensations in this core of the body, pelvis, the torso, and then the thighs. And breathe. Knees are hip width apart. Try not to let them spread out. Keep them hip width apart. Imagine you have a block between the knees. Inhaling and exhaling down one vertebrae at a time, nice and slowly. Nice massage on that spine, all the way to the lumbar. Feel the sacrum and tailbone release. And now we're going to move into our full bridge. We're going to move in, adding a little bit of a back bend to this pose. And I want to show you with this block. This is, you can take a block and you can put it between your knees. And when you do that during your bridge, it just trains you not to, sometimes it's a natural thing that the knees start to spread. And it'll teach you to keep those knees hip width apart. So we're rooted into the feet. We're going to press into the feet, lift those hips. We're going to come up onto our shoulders a little more as we clasp the hands underneath us and come all the way up onto those shoulders. So we're moving into a little back bend here. Heart is open, engage those bandhas and breathe. One more breath here. Remember, you can take a break. And on the exhale, we're going to release the hands. We'll come down onto the back, release the shoulders, and coming down again, one vertebra at a time. Beautiful job. You can remove that block. And let's bring those knees into the chest, clasp the arms around the knees, and a few little gentle rocks. We're going to move into a little inversion. So we're going to just first start with just lifting those legs up. And this is a beautiful inversion, gives the veins in the legs a little break. Natural flow of gravity is bringing all that blood back down to the heart, rather than those veins having to pump it up. Inversions are very powerful for that. You can flex and extend those feet. Let's just take those legs out a little wider. Noticing the sensations here. And bringing them back together. And I invite you to move into a half shoulder stand. If half shoulder stand doesn't work for you, it's too much effort, you can just remain with the legs in this nice inverted position. You can always, as you guide students through the practice, this is a nice variation to half shoulder stand, just having the legs up. You're getting very similar benefit, this relaxation on the veins in the inversion. So let's move into half shoulder stand. We're going to lift those hips up. You're going to bring the hands right here to the small of the back. Feet are going to be right up above the head. And breathe. Oh, a variation for this, for half shoulder stand, is taking one foot at a time down to the earth. You can try that, one foot at a time. Beautiful job. Just finding your own level of flexibility. And then another variation while you're in half shoulder stand is to move into the plow. A lot of people like to bring their feet down to the earth, and that's very doable, but I like to protect this lower back. I like to keep these legs parallel to the earth. And breathe. And coming out of plow, I like to bend those knees, come into a little ball, bring the hands down to the earth, and very gently rolling out of the pose. And then straightening those legs out, we're going to move into our fish, Matsyasana. First thing we do with fish is we're laying flat on our backs. Palms of the hands are facing down to the earth. And we're going to bring these hands underneath the buttocks. Both hands under the buttocks. And then bring in those forearms snug up to the body. And then pressing into the forearms and the elbows as you lift the heart and the head right up off the earth. Relaxing the head and gently coming down so the crown of the head is resting on the earth. And we're in our fish. You can point the toes, you can flex the toes, pointing the toes is the best for this pose. Focusing on that beautiful open heart. And breathe. Bond is engaged. Seal up those energy portals. One more breath. And to come out of the pose, we're going to press into those elbows, forearms. We're going to lift the body and straighten it out. And come back down so you're resting on your back. And taking the hands out from underneath the buttocks. And then let's bring those knees back in to the chest. Rocking back and forth. Nice and gently. Let's take those knees and let's move them out wide. So they're lined up more with the armpits, maybe even a little wider. Bring those feet so the soles of the feet are facing the sky. Take the hands and wrap them around the outer edges of the feet. And gently pulling the knees down towards the earth. Opening up those hips in baby. We're going to move into happy baby in a minute. Right now we're just in a full baby. Now we don't want this butt to be lifting up. We're feeling that lumbar spine on the earth. Nothing's lifting up. We're just pressing those feet down, feeling a nice hip opening. Beautiful. And then moving into happy baby as you play with your body when you are just a little baby, kicking your feet, exploring these limbs, noticing all the sensations. You found your feet, your hands found your feet. You're exploring the body, just finding the spontaneous movements that work for you. Having some fun with it. And let's bring the feet together in a little Supta Baddha Konasana. Just pulling them in towards the body for a moment. Rocking back and forth a little. And releasing the feet. And we're going to move into our releases and Savasana. So our first is our hula. Finding these hips. And let's swivel these hips. One hip going down towards the heel, opposite coming up towards the armpit. And then swivel in reverse. Feeling that sacrum flat on the earth, nothing lifting up. Nice, slow, repetitive movements as we release and relax the lower back, sacrum area. So when we move into Savasana, you can be very comfortable. Moving into hip pointers, coming back to neutral. My right butt cheek is rooted into the earth as I lift this left hip and point it up towards the heavens and releasing it down. Rooting the left butt cheek into the earth, pointing and lifting the right up. And moving back and forth in your hip pointers, one hip at a time. Other hip is rooted into the earth. Engaging those bandhas and breathe. Noticing sensation. And coming back to neutral, we're going to move into cat, cow in a supine position, flat on our backs. So first let's move into cat as you press the small of your back into the earth, tucking the tailbone under, flexing that spine. And then our cow, as you arch the spine up off the earth, pointing the tailbone into the earth, extension of the spine, and moving back and forth, flexion and extension, cat, cow, on the floor. Engage the bandhas and breathe, basking in the sensations. And coming back to a neutral position. And we're going to, knees are up, we're going to take those feet, bring them out to the wide edges of the mat. We're going to move into single knee drop, dropping one knee at a time into the center. Releasing those hips. Engage the bandhas and breathe. And coming back to center, keeping those knees up. We're just going to walk those feet all the way together. And we're going to drop both knees over to one side and move into our beautiful double knee drop. Lifting the top knee, bringing it over to the other side, letting the bottom follow. Bringing that over. And lifting that top knee, bringing it over. Bottom knee is going to follow, and the whole leg is going to come over to the other side. One leg at a time, noticing sensations, engaging those bandhas, and breathe. And coming back to center. And any last stretch or movement you might need to make before we move into our savasana, our relaxation, and then our 10-minute mindfulness meditation. Just feeling the body and doing anything you need to get ready for savasana. You may want an eye pillow or a blanket on you. You might want to put a blanket under your knees, making yourself comfortable in this time on the floor. Let's bring those knees into the chest one last time to release and relax that back for savasana. And getting comfortable. Maybe some socks, whatever you might need to be comfortable for your savasana. And when you're ready, just in a nice, comfortable, supine position, relaxing the body and your back. Letting everything go. Acknowledging yourself for this yoga practice, for honoring your body, your health, your wellness, your journey into leadership and helping others with their wellness. Letting all the muscles release and relax. Feeling your body become heavier. Feeling those bones being pulled towards the earth. Bones becoming heavier. Releasing all tension in the muscles, all little pockets of holding. See how deeply you can relax the body, back of the body, connecting to the earth. Body feeling heavy. In the front of the body. The right side of your body, bringing your awareness to the right. Bringing your awareness to the left side of your body. Bringing your awareness to the upper half of your body. And the lower half of your body. And we will rest in silence as we allow this entire yoga practice, all the energies, all the physical and energetics of this practice to integrate to all aspects of our being. And I will bring you back. Taking a nice deep breath into the belly. As you begin to bring your awareness back to the body, back to this time and place, beginning to wiggle the fingers and toes, stretching out the arms and the legs. Maybe even a giant yawn. Come And backing into your body, and when you're ready, rolling over to one side or the other. Taking a breath here, noticing all those shifts in your energy, your organs, the fluids. And coming up to a seated position. Taking a moment here to check in with your body and the sensations. Scanning the inner being, inner aliveness. Noticing the emotional landscape. Again, with no judgment. Maybe noticing if it's any different than when you began the practice. Just observing, neutral, observation. And to bring yourself back to that intention that you set at the beginning of practice. Feeling the emotions of that intention fulfilled. That's what you really want. This intention is the emotional benefits, that satisfaction, fulfillment, that joy, that peace, that sense of love, expansion. And we will conclude with Namaste. I honor the place in you in which the entire universe dwells. I honor the place in you which is of love, light, truth, and peace. When I am in that place in me, and you are in that place in you, we are one. Namaste. Thank you for joining me for this beautiful analytics. We're over time, so we're not going to do our mindfulness meditation together. I invite you to do it on your own if you like, or if you like to join me after, I'll do it 10 minutes on the YouTube after the practice. But we've been an hour and a half. I don't want to go over time. I want to honor your time. I am Grace. You can check out ecstaticyoga.studio for more information on our yoga teacher trainings and retreats. Namaste. Wishing you a beautiful and blessed day.